Thank you, Wallace, for your introduction. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure that I stand before you today to share my findings from what has been a truly inspirational 2 years. I'll be going against the grain to tell you why I think Britain should be embracing and expanding the market for 100% grass-fed meat and dairy. I'd like to thank the Nuffield Farming Trust for the amazing opportunity that they have provided me and my sponsors, the Elizabeth Creek Trust, for their very generous support. Inspired by Joel Salatin's book, You Can Farm, in 2010 I began my own journey into farming with 22 acres of permanent pasture, the remaining portion of the family farm following the sale of the milking herd in 1991. Raising 100% grass-fed beef, lamb and pasture-raised geese on an extensive low-input grass-based system. In 2014, I secured the tenancy of a 125-acre Somerset County Council farm, which enabled me to scale my business and focus on growing and building what I hope will become a long-term farming career. My ambition is to sustainably increase productivity and diversity on my farm in order to create a viable, rewarding, and environmentally sustainable farming enterprise. With the support of a Nuffield Farming Scholarship, in 2015 I embarked on a journey to determine what it is that is driving the growth of the grass-fed movement around the world. What the future holds for ruminant meat and dairy production, to better understand what the benefits of producing, consuming and retailing grass-fed meat and dairy, and how the potential to grow this market in the UK might be realised. Why 100% grass-fed? There is a growing number of farmers and consumers that have turned to producing and consuming 100% grass-fed meat and dairy. Because science has shown that ruminant meat and dairy raised in this way can be better for human health, better for animal health, better for the natural environment, and provide a greater return for the producer. Compared to its grain-fed counterpart, grass-fed meat and dairy is lower in total and saturated fat on a gram-per-gram basis. It has a better omega-3 to omega-6 ratio that is preferred by the nutritional community. Omega-3 fatty acids are the healthy fats found typically in oily fish and linseed oil. Grass-fed is higher in vitamin A and E and higher in total conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA, known for its cancer-fighting properties. The livestock sector currently accounts for 14.5% of human-induced greenhouse gas emissions, exceeding that from transportation. However, the picture for grassland-based livestock production is much more favourable. About 60% of agricultural land worldwide is covered by grasslands, much of it marginal land which could not otherwise grow crops. Review ruminants' unique ability to convert pasture into high-quality meat and dairy that we can eat. Sustainably managed grasslands could play a major role in maintaining food production as well as fulfilling many crucial ecological functions. Livestock consume an estimated 1/3 or more of the world's grains, with 40% of this going to feed ruminants. And with a worldwide population forecast to grow to 9.7 billion, an increase of 3 billion by 2050, it is arguably not feasible to continue feeding grains to livestock that could otherwise be fed to humans. But is it possible to feed the world from 100% grass-fed ruminants? The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization has modelled a scenario in 2050 whereby the global environmental impact of livestock production could be mitigated if there was a complete shift towards grassland-only and zero human-edible grain feed-based production system. For an extensive grassland-based livestock production strategy to be feasible, human diets will need to become much less meat-intensive. We need to eat less, but better quality meat and dairy. My scholarship enabled me to travel across the USA and Australia, where countries that demonstrate a strong grass-fed production history with a significant and fast-developing market. I visited producers, retailers, and processors advocating 100% grass-fed farming methods in order to discover the potential these methods could offer in the UK in terms of product, production practices, soil regeneration, human and animal health benefits, and as a sustainable method for feeding the world population. Currently, the greatest consumer demand for certified 100% grass-fed is to be seen in the USA. A decade ago, there were only about 50 grass-fed cattle operations left in America. Now there are thousands. The sector has experienced exponential growth over the past 15 years and shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, it is the only segment of the industry that is showing year-on-year growth, with consumer demand for grass-fed beef growing at an annual rate of 25% to 30% over the past 10 years. With American producers unable to keep up with demand, Australia is filling the gap, with the USA now its largest and most valuable export market for beef. With volumes in 2015 reaching 415,000 tonnes, 100% grass-fed beef is making up the majority of Australian beef sent to the USA. The fast-paced growth of the 100% grass-fed beef sector in the USA has been driven by consumers who are seeking to reconnect with whole foods and are choosing to support ethical, sustainable, and high-welfare production systems, producing healthy and nutrient-dense foods which are also free of GMOs, hormone growth promoters, and antibiotics. Producers have struggled to keep up with demand, with grass-fed beef, which in 2015 commanded a 7% share of the total beef market, with a value in excess of $2.55 billion US. Compare this to the UK organic beef sector, which received just 3.3% of the market share in 2014 to 2015. I met some truly inspirational grass-fed producers. They were passionate, enthusiastic, and a grass-fed approach to farming made complete and utter sense to them. Grazing-based farming systems typically have lower operating costs, less expensive infrastructure requirements, and are less risky, taking a more natural, holistic approach to food production, which can make good economic sense for the farmer in a volatile marketplace. For many of the producers that I visited, this approach centered around planned rotational grazing and often included a pastured poultry enterprise as part of a multi-species grazing model. This stacking of enterprises increases the productivity of their farms, builds soil fertility, whilst reducing parasite pressure on the pastures. I visited the leading practitioners in this industry on 2 continents. These farmers were focused on building a resilient farming system and were convinced of the financial and ecological merits of their chosen farming model. The adoption of independently assured 100% grass-fed certification standards provides quality assurances, provenance, and production standards guarantees. Meat and dairy processors have developed 100% grass-fed premium brands, adding value to a sector which otherwise offers limited product differentiation and value segmentation. Grass-fed products are being sold in national stores, farmers' markets, on-farm shops, and online shops, with all of the big supermarket chains in the USA selling a grass-fed range. Even fast food restaurants are responding to the demand and moving to menus featuring grass-fed, antibiotic, hormone, and GM-free ingredients. Growing concern from consumers about the origin and health credentials of the food they eat has seen demand for certified 100% grass-fed products across the USA grow at an annual rate of 25% to 30%. Science has shown 100% grass-fed ruminant meat and dairy to be healthier for humans, animals, and the environment. Despite this increase in the US market, the UK is still trying to understand the benefits of grass-fed. Indeed, many UK farmers believe we are now too far down the industrialised path to turn back the clock. Although the UK is perfectly suited to raising ruminants in terms of climate, the model that has been successfully implemented across USA and Australia still remains largely untapped. But as consumers are increasingly choosing to support ethical and sustainable production systems, there remains a considerable potential demand for 100% grass-fed, which, if taken up, has the ability to influence and drive future farming practice in the UK. Which brings me to my recommendations. We need to close the gap in the market. There are opportunities for retailers, processors, and farmers to develop brands and a supply chain for 100% grass-fed, with the potential, based on the American experience, to take significant share of the market. We need to ensure product integrity through the adoption of 100% grass-fed certification standards to provide quality assurances, provenance, and production standards guarantees. We need to adopt a combined approach. A critical mass of certified 100% grass-fed ruminant meat and dairy farmers are needed to enable the launch of a national 100% grass-fed brand. We need to raise awareness. We must find ways to educate the consumer on the ecological, welfare, and human health benefits of producing and consuming 100% grass-fed meat and dairy. These could be through farm visits, cultural media, and retail strategies. We need to encourage farmers to lead the movement. Many of the best farms that I visited on my travels took the responsibility of marketing their grass-fed produce into their own hands. I believe in order to help grow this market in the UK, we need to do the same. Through my Nuffield journey, I have had the opportunity to meet with and visit some of the world leaders in this sector. I have gained insight, ideas, solutions, and more importantly, witnessed the success of businesses that have capitalised on the opportunity provided by 100% grass-fed. As a result of my travels, I now have increased confidence to move forward with my ideas and aspirations for my own farm business, including expanding my enterprises with the introduction of more seasonally reared, pasture-raised poultry species. I've launched a new online shop, farmtofork.co.uk, which has enabled me to retail my produce online to a nationwide audience base and to maximise the retail value of my produce. The website also provides my customers with a story behind and an insight into my farm and farming methods. I will continue to market the grass-fed ethos and my products to raise awareness of health, environmental and welfare benefits, and develop my farm open days to help engage and educate the consumer on how their food is produced. And I hope one day soon we will see Britain embracing and the market expanding for certified 100% grass-fed meat and dairy. Thank you very much for listening.